What's going on? My name is Rich Ryan from the Obstacle Racing Collab. Today we're talking about Palmerton 2021. We have the Super and the Sprint. It's just me joining you today for this map review. So the Palmerton course I've run several times. This is pretty close to where I live here in Philadelphia. It's kind of the hometown race. And this mountain in particular, the Blue Mountain in Palmerton, is where I spend most of my time training when I'm doing elevation training. And it's about 30 minutes from where my parents still live. So when I get home, that's where I go. So I know this mountain and this course really well. I unfortunately am not running it this year, just it's conflicting goals and just doesn't necessarily work with the schedule. But that's not stopping me from giving you this map review. So let's just get into it and talk about what this looks like. So if you have done Palmerton before, you are familiar with this first climb, and it looks pretty much the same as normal. And looking at it, when we head straight up, you have the overwalls right away, which is just a speed bump, but it's basically a mile straight up. So the first mile you can see is up around the first bend. So you get all the way up, and you do have to do A-frame cargo and Z-wall at the top. But really the biggest obstacles in this course, it is the climb. I would say that the climb is probably more important than the descent because it is so steep that the descent ends up being a little bit shorter than in a course like Tahoe or Utah or even Big Bear for that matter, where there's a lot of time to kind of catch up going down. But if you're not a strong climber here, you're probably going to have a tough time catching up on the descents unless you are a very strong on the descents on the way back down, or very good at the carries that look like they're the back half of this course. With that said, this climb is incredibly steep and it can take it out of you really, really fast. So I would go out pretty cautious on this first climb and let the field kind of work itself out, and just going into that first climb pretty easy because it starts on a hill, but it's gradual. So you can kind of still get things moving pretty quick on it. But after the overwalls, it pretty much pitches straight up. And it doesn't look like it zigzags in any direction. It's just going to go straight up. I think it finishes at the same place that the double sandbag carry and regular sandbag carry has been the past couple of years. I can't tell for sure, but I'm pretty sure that if you see where the number 2, the A-frame cargo, that's usually where the sandbag is, and it juts down the hill that would be on our left side and curves around and comes back up and kind of connects with where this is here. So it's going to be damn steep at that point, crazy steep there. So I would definitely use that power hike if you have that in your repertoire. Very conservatively in this. I've done a technique with these hills in the past that have worked pretty well for me, of doing it like Tabata style. And I'm decent at climbing hills, but I still need to like run for 20 seconds. I count 20 seconds in my head and then I walk for 10. So I think that that's an important thing to have, having a plan behind the rest and knowing when you want to start and stop. And knowing where your strengths lie. So if you are a better power hiker than a steep incline runner, then go to power hiking more often than trying to run and spin your wheels. But have a plan. Don't just think like, oh, okay, maybe now I'll go, or oh, maybe now I'll stop, or maybe I'll power hike until I can jog now, and have a plan for it. Just like count something off in your head, or have something like picked out on the course for you to pick up momentum. Do not use a strategy of like doing what everybody else around you is doing, because everybody on this hill is dying. Nobody knows what they're doing, and you're all just looking at each other. So just go and have a plan, run when you can run, or power hike when you think you should power hike. And that's kind of it. So this first mile, it's going to take like 20 minutes at like least. So prepare for that long trek up. At the top, A-frame cargo, which is kind of crazy, like right at the top there. So, I mean, that's whatever. You're going to be exhausted. Take your time. And then it's Z-wall, same deal. No, not gaining anything there. And then as it comes back down, it kind of loops around. After the Z-wall, it's a little bit flat and is going to kind of bend back down around. And once you get to the mile markers, when you're going to start to really kind of scream back downhill, it looks like it's cut into some of the mountain bike trails. I can't quite see, but a lot of that grass that is in between the ski slopes are mountain bike trails. So not incredibly technical in this part of the course, but they're pretty steep and they can be windy as well. So I believe that's what that looks like. And then as it kind of traverses across the course, it's going to be pitched down, but you're going to be kind of running like sideways. And it gives you a little bit of up to come back and get onto a bit more of the ski slope itself. So I can kind of get really moving there after that first bump back up that you see and screaming back down to mile 2. So that might be a little bit technical in there. After that second little bump incline coming back down, there might be some incline, some pretty technical pieces in there. And then as you come through, you're going to get to mile 2, and then that is Twister. So this is like the first real technical obstacle here. Just getting through, I like to do it backwards, bent arm backwards. I think, and at this point of the race, I mean, it takes a little bit more energy to do it that way, but it's a little bit more secure in my opinion. And you don't necessarily need to take any risks at this point of the race here because of a big climb coming up. And if you need to make up ground, that's where you should do it, or you really don't want to put yourself in any type of deficit when going back up this climb, because that's going to be pretty nasty. So just get through it however you can. And then you're going to come to bender and pipe layer. So be careful, pipe layer, sneaky hard pipe layer. Be careful, pipe layer. And then once you get through that, and you're headed back up. So this course is actually pretty similar to 2018, I believe. I would be remiss to note that there was no sandbag carry at the top of this first climb, like there normally is on the double black diamond, which I do think is unfortunate. And I feel like it's going to be pretty cliche to say that, but I mean, it kind of was a staple. I mean, I don't love that sandbag carry. I think it's incredibly hard, but it's also kind of special. It's like a special part of it. I don't love it that it's at the beginning of the race because it just blows the race to pieces, but I made the race special, and it's really hard, and it's something that I like it because it's my hometown course, so I wanted to have something that's kind of hard there. So that's the only thing that doesn't seem to be the same so far in this course. Even the obstacles themselves are sort of similar to this point. Like Twister was at the bottom of the hill. I don't remember Bender or something else. Maybe there was a multi-rig there, whatever. When you head back up, then you have Olympus, which is going to be pitched up a hill a little bit. So Olympus is tough by itself. The weather is looking to be wet, I believe. So have a plan for this. I would be concerned about Olympus here. So take your time because it is going to be going back up the hill before it starts to get kind of steep again. And right at that point is where you kind of enter back into the woods. So take your time on this. Like, have a plan. If it's wet, know that you're going to have to go knees right away, knees, holes, and hand grips. If you feel confident in the grip on your shoes and you can get your feet up onto the wall, then maybe go with the chains, especially if they have the balls on the end. But I would probably go knees on this, pretty knees and like substantial bent arms. That might be trouble. So be careful of the Olympus piece there because that's going to be tough. And then that could really blow the race open because you're getting back into a second climb. And if you guys are familiar with the Blueburn Trail, anybody who's like local to the area, this looks like it's just the final descent of the technical part of the Blueburn, but just pitched backwards. So it's really steep. It's incredibly rocky. It's pretty technical. So just make sure that you're ready for that part there. And it's going to be a bit of a slow go where it's going to be a lot of power hiking just because your footing's not going to be good. So just kind of persevering through that, making sure you're just consistently moving because, yeah, it's just going to be a bit slow as you get to the top there. After that, what do we got? We got Beater. So that's a cool spot for Beater coming out of that hill. You might be exhausted. That might be a little bit challenging if it's wet. So again, take your time on it and know, like, identify where the things are spinning and then grab everything with two hands on this day, I would say, because even if it's not raining, it's going to be humid. So after Beater, you head back up some more. So there's still a lot of climbing. You're not really even close to the top at Beater. So, keep that in mind that you're not quite there and there's quite a bit more climbing to go. And then as you head up to the top, then at so I gotta look in close here. I don't know why they made these maps like this. This map it's insane that they pulled it, that they like put the map and then the freaking obstacle guide on two different things. Like, why would they make it this way? And why don't we get it earlier? Why can't we get this like yesterday? I don't understand. So then when you get to the Stairway to Sparta, no problem. The super one, no problem. This is gonna, after Stairway to Sparta, it's gonna be a bit of a downhill until you get to 7 foot wall, which will slow you down. You're gonna get back over, and then it kind of goes back up. So this isn't flat at the top. It goes down and then it comes back up, and it's a pretty decent gradual hill, which can take quite a bit out of you there. So this, if you are a runner and you would looking for places to kind of open up, this is it. This is all you got. So you might want to make that move before this final descent, because this final descent can be pretty sharp and pretty fast. So this would be a good place to kind of make that move as you do head into the rope climb and the spear throw. Unfortunately, the spear throw is there, but you're still going to, again, this is like the only chance to run. So making sure you hit the spear throw. Again, this was there in 2018. The spear was at the top here. It may have been flipped with, I'm sorry. It's the Atlas carry, then rope climb, then spear throw. So it is all kind of in the same spot. So just making sure that you are taking your time. And I kind of like where it's here, where it's here on this point better, where it's like in the middle of the race rather than the end of the race. A bunch of races this year, they put the spear throw at the end, and that just kind of, this whole race happens and then it all comes down to the spear and it changes the race completely. So it doesn't really tell a great story. So I kind of like when it's in the middle, because it gives you some time to catch up after if you need to, but you won't, you'll make the spear. And then then you hit over vertical cargo, which it will probably be the platform on the super, which is a little bit challenging, but you should have your breath back after the spear throw, so you should be able to get over that okay. And again, if it's wet, take your time coming up. I like to put my hands up on the shelf. I'll give this credit to Josh Fry. He showed me this, where you kind of get up and kind of can put your fingers like in the crack a little bit, and it gives you a little bit of leverage to kind of muscle yourself up. So instead of like running up and jumping and trying to get over that cargo platform, like getting your forearms on top and then pulling yourself up, a little bit more controlled, takes a little bit more power, but you'll have a little bit more wind after the spear throw if you're not coming off burpees. So don't do the burpees, or do the burpees, but don't miss the spear. You know what I'm saying? So then you're headed down, and you're going to scream down. This is going to be pretty fast on the way down. It looks pretty similar to what the downhill was in. Maybe not quite. It looks like it cuts through the woods a couple times. So again, it might be the mountain bike trail, but it is going to be steep. There's going to be really steep parts of this descent. And then when you get to the bottom, you have rolling mud, which rolling mud's there 365. They've dug that out whenever they came here, and that just stays there. So that should be real nice. Hopefully they get some nice fresh water in there. And then slip wall right after. And then you got bucket carry, which is a little bit higher. And this is a different place than it's been in the past, but it does look like it's going to send you uphill and back down is what I would imagine that looks like. At this part of the course, it's not tremendously steep, but it's going to be a bit of a hill there. The course, the mountain kind of plateaus there, if I'm not mistaken. So this might not be brutal, but it looks sort of long. So it might not be even as long as on like the tubing hill, which it has been the past couple of years, or as like hilly as it has been. So I'm not sure, but you're coming out like at mile 5, right around there. So this will be your first place to, if you need to make up some ground. It's a choice you have to make here. It's like if you want to spend it on the bucket, or if you want to hold on, because there's a sandbag carry coming up as well. But you're going to have to make that choice. A lot of the race will probably be determined because of the 2 huge climbs and huge descents that have already happened. So a lot of times at this race, like there's not too much racing that needs to be done at this point because everybody's dead. But hopefully that's not you, but it might be. So I would really just try to survive this bucket, because that's really going to be your best bet. And where are we at after that bucket deal. So then it's dunk wall, which I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure where that water pit is for the dunk wall and the water crossing. So it must just be back to back. I don't know why they would put that back. Maybe it's just the same. Maybe you dunk under and then cross the water. There's a bit of a pond there. It's been pretty shallow the past couple of years, like just about waist deep. And you're coming out into the box. So we're far off on the left of the map now. So box is tough, especially if it's going to be wet. Take your time. If you have the strength to pull yourself up, do it. If you need to jump up, if you can jump up and grab that bar, it's another great way to do it. But again, just making sure you're sure-handed on this. And then you have ape hanger, which is one of the staples here at Palmerton. Again, the ape hanger pool is here all year. And this was like the first place that it debuted. So I'm glad they kept that at least. Am I right? So the going up ape hanger, if you haven't done it, super fun. It's just a ladder, monkey bars that kind of ascend and descend. So you got to climb a rope first, so keeping your hands dry. So not a ton of cues to kind of get through this. I usually go bent arm through the ascent, and then I can go monkey hang through the descent on that. So get through that. You're going to be wet, and then it's going to be multi-rig and then helix. So it's a little bit of a run. And then so this is a bit of a challenging part here where it's going to be box, ape hanger, and multi-rig. It might be a little bit of a grip burner, but you're probably going to be pretty wet at this point, and there's going to be the pipe and the rings for the multi-rig, but there's still some time there to kind of make a move. So yeah, just survive this as well. Like I said, that and then helix is really nothing. And then it looks like the sandbag carry is where the bucket carry has been, or even a little bit. That's probably even a bit of a steeper hill than what the bucket carry was. And I think this is a tough bucket carry. I don't like where this is in the race. It's so late. It's so brutal. It's not a tremendously steep hill, but it's pretty freaking long. So it's like, this is pretty hard. But so like, this is really where you're going to have to make your move, because after it, you have Herc hoist, barbed wire crawl. So yeah, I mean, make sure you're being assertive on this bucket carry, get through the Herc hoist and the barbed wire. That's definitely the last place you're going to have to make your move. In previous years, they had the barbed wire going down one way and then coming back both ways for a Herc hoist. That's what it was. You ran down the hill, you went under the barbed wire to get to the Herc hoist, and then you did the Herc hoist, you turned around, you went back up through the barbed wire to the top. So it's downhill and then uphill. And if it's downhill, it was like pretty slick, and it was like kind of muddy and a little bit kind of scary sliding into that barbed wire. But it's nice to slide down on wet grass, but coming back up is a bit of a grind. So that's 100% your last chance to make a move, is going back through that barbed wire. So if you have anything left and you got to kind of go, you can go there, because it's long and it's like pretty tough. So people will be kind of bailing out. And if you can muster it up, there's just the monkey bars left after the inverted wall and then that fire jump. So it finishes pretty much the same as 2019, except the monkey bars instead of the multi-rig. So that's really what this is looking like. So in total, I would say this is pretty standard for Palmerton, besides the no double sandbag carry, no sandbag carry on the super steep part. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be hard. I mean, that's like the hardest part is a sandbag, but like this mountain is just brutal. That first climb is really tough. That second climb is also pretty tough. So just make sure you're getting in, pace yourself on that first climb, because it can really bury you. Hit the descents with what you got. But this is an ascenter's course. So if you're a good climber, you'll be all right, as long as you're not going insane on that first, like literally the first like 400, 800 meters, and you don't blow yourself up in that first little part. So that's that. Have fun at Palmerton. Come back for the sprint, kick butt in that, and we'll talk to you soon.